Shayetet 13 is Israel's elite Marine Commando unit operating in the sea, on land, and in the air in a variety of daring and special activities. They are often compared to the U.S. Navy SEALs and Britain's Special Boat Service.
Alright y'all, welcome back to Combat Arms channel. So today's video we're checking out a country that we haven't checked out previously, but it's also a country that we've talked about a lot. So this is about the Israeli Shayetet 13. And I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but yeah, it's kind of like their Israeli Navy SEALs. So I haven't worked with these guys specifically, but I have worked with the Israeli Defense Forces a bunch because when I was in the Marine Corps infantry, I did deploy and work with the IDF, and it was pretty fun. We went to their Lotar school as well and did a little bit of training there, so we got exposed to a bunch of different units, like their monkeys, which is basically like the dudes who do all the rappelling and go through the windows. Those guys were really cool. And more specifically, we worked with like the counter-terror unit over at the Lotar school. So it was a ton of fun. And honestly, that was like my first exposure to a military with like a mandatory service or the conscription. And I think the IDF do a really good job of that. But they definitely have a lot of specialized units. And those specialized units get a lot of really sick equipment because a lot of really cool military technology comes out of Israel. So they're always testing out all this awesome equipment, and they also have some pretty solid equipment because the IDF is going to be focused on that defense. And being in Israel and having the history that they do, they're going to want to put a lot of emphasis on their defense, and I think they do a pretty solid job at that. So this video is actually from Agilite, which is a company that makes a lot of the gear for the IDF. Now, my plate carrier is actually from Agilite, and I love their body armor systems. I love their equipment. So Agilite's very, very solid, and they actually did a shout out to me on their Instagram. So shout out to them over at Agilite. They actually put my review of their plate carrier on their web letter that they send out in the email. So that was really cool to see. So Agilite, again, makes some awesome equipment. And yeah, they make some awesome stuff for the IDF, and we already know the IDF are very focused on defense, so they do a very good job with their training. So let's see how the Shayetet 13 do their training. Again, the Israeli Navy SEALs, these guys are probably going to be pretty hardcore. Yeah, look at that. That takes a lot of coordination to rappel onto that railing.
Shayetet 13 is Israel's elite Marine Commando unit operating in the sea, on land, and in the air in a variety of daring and special activities.
There's so much going on already.
Compared to the U.S. Navy SEALs and Britain's Special Boat Service. The details of most missions and identities of active operators are highly classified. They are considered to be one of the best units in the world. The unit
Yeah, the IDF already are very, very solid. So you can imagine their special forces are going to be on a whole nother level. So we can see they have some pretty solid equipment. They have their Tavors, or this is like the X95. I think like the micro X95. But yeah, the Tavor is an awesome weapon for them. It's bullpup. It's nice and compact. You can see here they have like their wetsuits on with their balaclavas. Very, very cool. So yeah, I imagine their gear is going to look very similar to the U.S. Navy SEALs and the British Special Boat Service.
It's in the world. The unit engages in various operational activities, including strategic damage to enemy maritime structures and gathering high-quality intelligence on enemy operations.
So that pistol?
Shayetet 13 excels in sea-to-land incursions, counterterrorism, sabotage, maritime intelligence gathering, maritime hostage rescue, and boarding. They are the cream of the crop and the tip of the Israeli military spear.
Cream of the crop. Oh yeah, that Uzi, dude.
Shayetet 13 was established in 1949 with men drawn from the ranks of the Palyam, the naval branch of the Palmach, Israel's pre-state elite fighting force. From its inception, the existence of Shayetet 13 was kept a state secret. The unit's operators wore the general Israeli Navy insignia rather than their own unique one as a part of their cover.
Right, so I think Israel got their independence in 1948. So already the IDF was built off of necessity, just based off of Israel's background and the conflict that sort of started up everything. Now, you can imagine when you have these specialized units that are sort of like top secret or whatever you want to call them, they're going to have a much bigger emphasis on their operations, much bigger emphasis on making sure they have the equipment that they need for their operations, and also keeping their operations on the down low, so a whole lot of people don't know about it. So having an origin like that is pretty serious, and for them to just evolve further and further, you can imagine they're just going to get better equipment as they progress. Their operations are going to get more serious and maybe more widespread. But again, you're not really going to hear too much about what these guys do, just based off of how secretive they are. So it's pretty cool to hear about.
It was not until 10 years later that the information about its existence began to leak, and their existence was made public. The unit's training lasts 20 months and is considered to be one of the toughest courses in the IDF.
Some Krav
Those who
Maga.
enlist in Shayetet 13 are put through a grueling multi-stage regimen. It starts with a selection process that puts recruits through a series of physically and mentally challenging exercises for 4 days. The few who succeed in passing this phase move on to 6 months of basic and advanced infantry training. Next is the preparation phase, which lasts for 3 months and consists of advanced weapons training, parachute training, basic elements of maritime warfare, operation of small vessels, long swims, forced marches, and demolitions. Then they advance to 4 weeks of intense training in combat diving. Cadets learn the basics and how to cope with situations such as cold, darkness, clouded water, and survival in high-risk underwater situations.
Okay, so yeah, they get that overall training, of course, that you would see with most special forces units. They have that like selection early on, I guess, is what they were saying. But I know already the IDF, especially working at the Lotar school, their shooting drills are really, really top notch. They take a big emphasis on like aggression and really like driving the enemy back, just based off of their aggression with how they shoot and their violence of action. So the violence definitely comes into play with the IDF, so it's going to be even multiplied whenever we talk about these guys. So their shooting drills looked very solid, and then they're going to move into that more specialized training like they were talking about with the maritime warfare and the parachuting and everything. And then they even move past that from the specialized training to like really like niche training, like operating in cloudy water and stuff like that. So that's cool. You don't really hear about that really extra stuff as far as their training. It's really awesome, and it just goes to show what level of expertise these guys are expected to operate on.
The dedicated phase. This most rigorous stage of training lasts about a year, and most recruits drop out during this phase. Shayetet 13 has played a major role in almost all of Israel's wars and confrontations since its establishment. Most of its missions are classified. However, some known or suspected activities of the unit have been revealed by other means. The unit infiltrated Egypt's port on numerous raids during the 1973 Yom Kippur War. During one such raid, operators from Shayetet 13 infiltrated the Hurghada port and sank a torpedo boat, a Coast Guard boat, a tank landing craft, a missile boat, and blew up the port's main docking pier. In 2002, the unit captured a Palestinian Authority-owned freighter loaded with 50 tons of weapons. The weapons were intended to be used to carry out terror attacks against Israeli civilians. The operation, codenamed Noah's Ark, took place between the coast of Saudi Arabia and Sudan, over 500 kilometers from Israel.
Okay, again, I didn't even know about that. And I mean, of course, when you're working with the IDF, they're not really going to be talking about all these specific operations, especially when we're talking about the Shayetet 13. They're not going to be, boasting about everything they do. And we see that with units all over the place, like special forces units. They're not really boasting about what they do. They keep everything low key. And that just goes to show the mindsets of the people that are going into this stuff. You need people who aren't like egotistical, who don't have like that. They have a little bit of humility to them, because they're not going to go around boasting about it. They take everything very professionally, and it's very much a professional occupation for them. Even though they're the most badass people you might know, they're not going to be bragging about all that kind of stuff. So it's awesome to see that little professionalism put in the background as well. But their operations seem very similar to what we've seen with the British SAS, as far as like these small team stealthy operations to destroy strategic equipment. Because again, these guys probably operate more on the strategic level as far as taking out specific pieces of equipment or doing these small operations for a specific purpose, not necessarily going to be on like that tactical or operational level as far as working with other people. So these guys are going to be independent. They're going to be doing stuff that a lot of people wouldn't do because it's very high risk. So they're going to get the equipment they need. They're going to do all the planning that they need for it. and they're going to do it very precisely. And that's generally what we see with organizations like this.
Backed by combat helicopters and aircraft, Shayetet 13 operators surprised the ship's crew and took over the vessel without firing a single shot. The mission was considered a major success. Today, Shayetet 13 protects Israel's maritime borders and carries out highly classified and extremely high-risk missions throughout the Middle East in order to keep Israel and its citizens safe. Any place, anytime, anywhere, Shayetet 13 will get the job done.
Yeah, that was a very solid video. So, they have a video about the Yamam. We're definitely going to have to do that. So the Yamam actually work at I don't know if they work, but they train at the Lotar school that I actually trained at as well. So we're definitely going to have to check them out. But yeah, so a lot of this stuff sounds very similar. Again, what we've seen with other special forces, especially like the British SAS, how these units have a very specific purpose, but they can also do a wide range of operations. So I'm sure these guys go outside of Israel's border to do strategic missions, because again, that's where it sort of moves into their realm as far as doing operations that are very low-key, very strategic, and also very dangerous, really. Because again, if you get compromised doing some of these operations, it could be like a political incident. It could make like international troubles. So these guys are going to be very low-key with what they're doing, and that's why they need to be so precise, so they're not really getting the enemy to understand what's going on or who did what. So it's always cool to check out these units, but again, we won't really know exactly what they did. You hear stories here and there about operations that they did, but it's really hard to get into the nitty-gritty of how badass these guys are, just because of how low-key and classified a lot of their stuff is. But I'm sure there's a lot of cool stories out there. So if you guys have any stories or video recommendations that involve the Shayetet 13, you can put that down in the comments section, and I'd be more than willing to check it out. Not sure if I'll do a reaction to it, but it'd be awesome to just see the operations that these guys have actually done and been successful on. Because you see this stuff, again, with the British SAS, you see these operations that are just completely successful, and that's just based off of the discipline of the people involved in the units, the planning that these guys actually do, the equipment they get, and yeah, you can imagine all that training that they do just to get into the unit. It's just fundamental stuff. So they're going to do months and months of planning and training and preparation just for a specific operation. So awesome to check out. Thank you for this recommendation. I'm surprised I haven't really decided to check out any other Israeli units. I think we did the counter-terror unit previously, but that wasn't very specific of a unit. So if we can check out the Yamam next, that'd be awesome. So this video is pretty solid. Again, it is from Agilite. So they're pretty invested in the IDF. So of course they're going to try and promote them and promote their success. And also, if you guys haven't seen, under the video now, I'll have the Teespring listing for the merch that I actually have. I used to put all my merch on Redbubble, but now I'm putting it on Teespring, because with YouTube you can sort of link Teespring and YouTube, and you can have all your merch items listed below your video. So if you guys see that, that's what that means. So I'll put the link to the Teespring store and the Redbubble store in the video description if you guys want to check that out. But yeah, if you guys are seeing that, feel free to go over, check out the merch. I appreciate you guys supporting the channel. If you guys don't want to buy merch, by all means, feel free to subscribe, hit that bell, or even just comment and let me know what recommendations you want me to check out. But yeah, I do appreciate the support, y'all. Some very, very solid recommendations. Again, this not really stuff that I'd be thinking to check out, because my mind is just all over the place, because we have all these awesome units from all these different countries. So it's nice to find a solid video so we can sort of focus in on a specific unit like these guys, because again, you're not going to hear too much about these guys besides these hype videos like this. So thank you for the awesome recommendation. Keep them coming. I do hope you guys enjoyed the video. That is it for this one. So I will see y'all in the next one.